Good morning all. I am Dr. Sai Kirti, Senior Resident from Department of Community Medicine, Sri Siddhartha Medical College. Today we will be discussing about hospital waste management. So I'll be discussing based on these headings. That is, first is the definition of biomedical waste, distribution of healthcare waste, health hazards of healthcare waste, biomedical waste management and handling rules, collection, storage and transport of biomedical waste, and finally treatment and disposal of waste. At the end of the class, you should be able to define and classify hospital waste, describe various methods of treatment of hospital waste, describe the laws related to the hospital waste management, and how to segregate the hospital waste. So, according to Biomedical Waste Management and Handling Rules 1998, biomedical waste is defined as any waste which is generated during the diagnosis, treatment or immunization of human beings or animals, or research activities or production or testing of biological or health camps. So, for example, the waste which is generated from hospitals like blood bags, syringes, cottons, bandages, all these are included in the biomedical waste. So this slide shows about the distribution of healthcare waste, which states that 80% of the healthcare waste is the general waste and 15% is the pathological and infectious waste, 5% accounts to sharp waste, chemical and pharmacological waste. This pie chart shows the average composition of hospital waste in India, which states that 53% of the hospital waste is the general waste, 15% is the paper waste, 15% accounts to rags, 10% accounts to plastics, and 4% accounts to glass, and remaining 3% accounts to infectious waste and metals. So this slide, it tells about the waste generated in developed countries and in the developing countries. So it tells that in developed countries, the waste generated amounts to 1 to 5 kg per bed per day, whereas in developing countries, it is 1 to 2 kg per bed per day. And the waste generated in high income countries that like United States, Japan, Germany, etc., it is 0.5 kg per bed per day, and in low income countries like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Sudan, etc., it is around 0.2 kg per bed per day. So now moving on to health hazards of healthcare waste. So who are all at risk? Who are the groups at risk of healthcare waste, health hazards? They are the doctors, nurses, waste handlers, patients, etc. So the first health hazard, the hazard from infectious waste and sharps, the hazard occurs through punctures, abrasions, like via mucous membranes, by inhalation or by ingestion, and it can lead to HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C infection, etc. The hazards from chemical and pharmaceutical waste, when a waste handler is exposed to acute or chronic exposure to the healthcare waste, it can lead to intoxication and some injuries like burns. So disinfectants and other highly reactive chemicals, all these are very hazardous. Next is the hazards from genotoxic waste. So when the waste handlers or the doctors or the healthcare people, when they are exposed to the genotoxic waste through inhalation of dust or aerosols, or when it is absorbed through the skin, or when it is getting ingested through food contamination with cytotoxic drugs or waste. And this severity, it depends on the extent and duration of exposure, how long you are being exposed to this waste, and the combination, what all combination of drugs are. It depends on the combination of substance toxicity. And hazards from radioactive waste. So it depends on the type of diseases, it is determined by type and extent of exposure. And it can lead to headache, vomiting, dizziness. These are some of the common symptoms. So next is the public sensitivity, that is sensitive to visual impact. So when the waste, hospital waste, when it is thrown to the public, when it is thrown to the outside, the public becomes alarmed seeing all the syringes, blood bags, or even the human anatomical waste. So moving on to the biomedical waste management and handling rules. It comes under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Control of Government of India. And these rules are made to all those who generate, collect, store, transport and dispose the waste. And there are 4 schedules in these rules. So Schedule 1 states that about the segregation, collection, treatment, disposal, processing and disposal options. Schedule 2 states about the treatment and disposal of biomedical waste. Schedule 3 about the authorities and corresponding duties related to this biomedical waste. And Schedule 4 is divided into two parts, Part A and Part B. Part A states that labeling should be made in the containers, in the waste collected containers or bags. And Part B states that labeling should be there in the transport of biomedical waste. I'll show you the pictures later. So this chart, it shows the process of biomedical waste. So it starts from the segregation. Segregation starts at the source. Segregation means you have to segregate the biomedical waste into the proper color-coded bins. So when you have gone to hospitals or clinicals, you might have seen in the wards that many color-coded bins will be there, beautiful bins will be there. So have you wondered why those bins are there and how they will dispose the waste? That's what we'll be learning about the segregation. After segregation, you will learn about the collection, storage and transport. That is the intermittent process. Once it is done and next it goes to the waste goes to the final treatment, that is common biomedical waste treatment facility. So moving on to the segregation process, you have seen yellow colored bins, right? So what all waste will go into it? They are human anatomical waste like tissues, organs, body parts, etc. Animal anatomical waste, which includes the experimental animals which will be used. And the soil waste like dressings, used cottons, bandages, etc. And the expired or discarded medicines, chemical waste, chemical liquid wastes, discarded linen, mattress, beddings, which all are, if they are contaminated with the blood or the body fluids. So you can see the pictures here, you will get to know what all waste can be disposed in the yellow container. And also microbiology and biotechnology and other clinical laboratory wastes. So blood bags, the laboratory cultures, specimens, stock specimens or live or attenuated vaccines, human and animal cell cultures, all these can be disposed in the yellow bag. Next is the red bag. So in the red bag, you will be disposing the tubings, bottles, intravenous catheters, syringes without needles. It's a special mention, without needles you have to discard the syringes. And the vacuum with the needles cut and the gloves. Whereas white is a leak, tamper-proof and puncture-proof container, and in that, so you can remember it as white is for sharps. So sharps in the sense syringes, needles, scalpels, blades and any other contaminated sharps. All these can be disposed in the white container. Next is blue. Blue is, you can remember blue for glasses. Glasses means vials, the opened or broken vials, ampules, and then even the metallic implants which can be used from, can be seen from the orthopedic department or even dental and any other surgical procedures. So these are the various color-coded bins. You can see red, white, blue, yellow. So now we have learned about the segregation of the waste, how we will segregate the biomedical waste into the bins, color-coded bins. Next we will learn how to collect the waste. So collection, so these are the bags. So in these bags you shouldn't fill to the full, to 90% you shouldn't fill. Only 3/4 you have to fill and then you have to tie it. You shouldn't staple. And it should be labeled according to Schedule 4 Part A. You have to label it as a biohazard. With the symbol it should be labeled. And next is the storage. Storage means it is the holding of biomedical waste for a period of time at the end of which waste is treated and disposed of. So storage is done near to the treatment site. There should be a secluded area where for the common people there shouldn't be an access to it. And most of the wastes are sent for pre-treated before sending to the final disposal. If it is not treated, then it should be if it is not treated, it shouldn't be stored for more than 48 hours. And every time whenever they send to the final disposal, bags are weighed and barcoded. So this is how they will be transporting. The transporting vehicle should be labeled properly. And it is a movement of biomedical waste from the point of generation or collection to the final disposal. So vehicles, they should be, as I said, it should be adequately labeled, and they should be predefined route and predefined timing. So in an institution, whenever you have to see what time they will be collecting the waste, how often, what is the frequency. Frequency depends on the amount of waste generated per day from an institution. So there will be a predefined route, predefined timing. They can't take it in the hallways. There will be a special route for it. According to that only they will be collecting, transporting the waste to the disposal site. So these are some of the guidelines which have come during the COVID-19 pandemic. So they have to use, we have to use double layered bags in a COVID-19 isolation wards, and it should be labeled as COVID-19 waste, and the bins or trolleys which will carry the waste, it should be disinfected daily with 1% sodium hypochlorite. And the COVID-19, the waste, biomedical waste, whichever is generated, it should be, it is available in COVID-19 BWM app. And the PPE kits which we will be using during COVID-19, like goggles, face shields, aprons, all these things should be discarded in the red bag. And the mask, like triple layered mask, N95 mask, the head covers, plastic covers, all those things should be discarded in the yellow bag. And the COVID-19 antigen test kit, which we will be used to test the COVID-19, it should be discarded in red bag, and the biomedical waste generated from the quarantine centers should be disposed in the yellow bag. So now you have learned the segregation process, collection, storage, and then finally you will be learning about the treatment and disposal. These are the various treatment methods in biomedical waste generation. So first is the incineration, then chemical disinfection, wet and dry thermal treatment, microwave irradiation, deep burial or landfilling, inertization, and recycling. So first we will learn about incineration. So it is a high temperature dry oxidation process. So the main advantage of incineration is that it reduces the waste volume and weight, and it also converts organic and combustible matter into inorganic and incombustible matter, and there is no need of pre-treatment in incineration. So these are the three types of incinerators. First is the double chamber pyrolytic incinerator, second is the single chamber furnaces, and third is the rotary kilns. This is the process how incineration works. So air and waste is sent to the furnace. Here the byproduct is flue gas and ashes. So flue gas which is generated is sent to the flue gas cleaning system if available, and then the byproduct is the exhaust gas which is sent to the atmosphere. And here steam is produced which is used for the heat recovery. So here the ashes which is produced, it is sent to the disposal and stabilization. And the wastewater which is generated is sent to the wastewater treatment facility if it is available, and the byproduct from this is the water discharge, and sludge if it is formed, it is sent for further treatment. This is how incinerator works. So now we will learn what all waste can be used for incinerator, like what all wastes are acceptable and what all are not acceptable. So in the acceptable wastes are waste with low heating volume, like above 2000 kilocalorie per kg for single chamber incinerators and more than 3500 kilocalorie per kg for pyrolytic double chamber incinerators. And the waste should have a combustible matter of more than 60%, non-combustible solids of less than 5%, non-combustible fines of less than 20%, moisture content of less than 30%. And the waste which shouldn't be used in incinerator, unacceptable wastes are pressurized gas containers, reactive chemicals, silver salts, mercury, cadmium, radiographic wastes, and closed or sealed ampoules. All these wastes are not used. Next is the chemical treatment, which means that chemicals are added to the waste to kill the pathogens. So it is mainly used for liquid waste like blood, urine, stools, etc. So it is basically a disinfection process rather than sterilization. So mainly the disinfectants used are bleaching powder, glyceraldehyde, alcohols, or quaternary ammonium compounds. Next we will go to wet and dry thermal treatment. So wet thermal treatment means the waste is exposed to high temperature, high pressure steam. It is basically the autoclave method. So here sterilization happens, but the disadvantage is that it cannot be used for anatomical, chemical and pharmaceutical wastes. Next we will learn about dry thermal treatment. So it means it is a non-burn dry thermal disinfection process. It is a screw feed technology method. So the waste is shredded and it is heated in a rotating auger. So here the advantage is that the waste can be reduced by 80% in volume, and infectious wastes and sharps can be used in dry thermal treatment. So this is the autoclave machine, and we have learned for wet thermal treatment for autoclave, and this is the shredder which can be used in the dry thermal treatment. Next is the microwave irradiation. So here microorganisms are destroyed by the action of microwave at a frequency of 2450 megahertz. So here what happens, the mechanism of action is that water which is present in the waste, it is heated by the microwaves and the infectious particles in that, infectious components in that waste will be destroyed. Next is the land disposal. So here there are two methods of land disposal, that is the land open dumps and sanitary landfills. First, so in the advantage of sanitary landfill is that first is the geological isolation of waste. So it means that the waste is disposed in a way that is separated from the common people. So and also there is an appropriate engineering preparation is there, and the staff present in the present on site, there will be staff on the site to control these operations, and organized deposit and daily coverage of waste. Next is the inertization. So here it states that 65% of waste is mixed with 15% of lime and 15% of cement and with 5% of water. That's how this process is done. So here this method is inexpensive, which is a good advantage, and then but the disadvantage is that it is not used for infectious waste. Now we will learn about some of the advantages and disadvantages of these treatment options. First is the rotary kiln. So the advantage of rotary kiln is that it can be used for all the infectious waste and most of the chemical and pharmaceutical waste, and the disadvantage is that it is not cost effective option. Next is a single chamber incinerator. So the advantage is that it reduces the weight and volume of the waste, and it is cost effective. Whereas the disadvantage is that there will be emission of atmospheric pollution, that is air pollution will happen, and then there should be periodical removal of slag and soot. Next is drum or brick incinerator. Here also there will be reduction of waste weight and volume, and then it is cost effective method, and there will be, the disadvantage is that there will be emission of black smoke, fly ash, toxic flue gas and odors. Next is the chemical disinfection. So here the advantage is that it is highly efficient disinfection under good operating conditions, whereas the disadvantage is that it cannot be used for pharmaceutical, chemical and some type of infectious waste. And the wet thermal treatment, it is environmentally sound, but the disadvantage is that shredders are subject to frequent breakdown and poor functioning. Next is the microwave irradiation. Here the advantage is that it is a good disinfection efficiency under appropriate operation conditions, and the disadvantage is that it is not cost effective. And encapsulation, it means it is a simple low cost method and it is safe, whereas the disadvantage is that it cannot be used for non-sharp infectious waste. And next is a safe burying, which is of low cost, and it is safe if we have a proper restricted place is there and if natural infiltration is limited, which is also the disadvantage of it. Inertization is relatively inexpensive, as I said before, and the disadvantage is that it cannot be used to infectious waste. So to summarize, we have learned about the definition of biomedical waste, what is the distribution, around 80% of the hospital waste is a general waste, and then how you have to segregate, which is the segregation is the important method, important step in this biomedical waste management. So you have to segregate according to the 4 color coded bins, which is yellow, red, blue and white, and after segregation you have to collect it properly. How you will collect it, how you have to transport the biomedical waste, and how we will treat. We have learned the various treatment methods, so and treatment methods of biomedical waste. Thank you.